What's going on, people? Today I have to bring this up um, because I'm seeing a tactic going on, and I'm going to use Space Marines and the Warhammer 40K universe as an example, where you're seeing a lot of feminists, woke-activists, politics, political people, LGBT people trying to use certain flaws or certain things set up in the Warhammer universe, especially when it comes to Space Marines, the Adeptus Custodes, to as a Trojan horse, per se, to insert their feminist logic, their woke logic, their political bull BS, and they're using a lot of these male spaces that were created by. I don't like say calling us nerds. I don't like calling us lame. I don't like calling us any of that. I think the nerds are very influential and very needed in society, and we keep on rejecting them all the time. But let me say it like this, right? Say this before I get into that. A lot of these gaming spaces that you see here, technology, entertainment, movies, Marvel comics, Batman, Superman, Space Marines, Warhammer. These are places where a lot of men who were nerds in high school, who were nerds in college, who were nerds in grade school, junior high school, whatsoever, created. Why? Because a lot of nerds were rejected. These were nerds that people bullied, that people didn't care about. And they created these spaces as an escape to get away from the bullshit of life. If you go back to Gen X, if you go back to the earlier millennials, or my generation of millennials, I'm 33 years old, so I was born in 92, right? Um, a lot of those people, nerds, used to get picked on, bullied, and gaming was the escape. So the gaming industry catered to those men. You understand? Now, what made me the exception was I can fight. I was able to fight and protect myself. Like you couldn't just bully me like that. Right? I could throw these hands, right? So, I could defend me liking Star Wars or myself liking what I liked, especially in black culture. Black culture rejects men like me. But as long as you can fight, they'll accept you. I don't know. And at the same time, black culture wants you, men like me or nerds, to come back and help their community when they rejected us. But that's another topic. But all of a sudden, all these male spaces like Halo community, these different communities that were male dominated and created for those men. Because guess what? The women that you see here now in these spaces and gaming spaces, they used to make fun of those guys. Nerds, lames, y'all are weirdos. Who remembers? To this day. In Stranger Things, the younger sister to, I forgot his name, the older brother, the black brother. Look how she was fucking with him about being a nerd. Come to find out she was a nerd herself. And he was playing Dungeons and Dragons, I think. Look how crazy that is. The same women want to be in a male space that they critiqued, made fun of, and bullied those guys for. By the way, I used to have to fight a lot of alpha niggas growing up. You know what I'm saying? Because alpha niggas tend to bully weaker people. They don't bully other alphas. That's very rare. I've seen another alpha fight another alpha. It's very rare I've seen that. But they tend to bully people they perceive as weak. And that has been my life story. Like it's always fighting something. But anyway, so let's get into it. Let's get into what I'm talking about right here. They're female space marines. No, there's not. And I'm going to go into why it's not. The controversy stems from a long-term running debate in Warhammer 40K lore and fandom about whether Space Marines can or should be female. Several factors contribute. In traditional lore position, Space Marines, the Adeptus Astartes, have historically been all male. In official lore, this was explained in universe via the complex biological genetic requirement for becoming a Marine, derived from male Primarch gene seed and narrative tradition. And Game Workshop itself clarified recently that Space Marines are considered male in lore, while other super elite units like Adeptus Custodes will soon have a female model kits. Now, Let me explain why in lore. With the gene seed thing coming from the Primarchs, right? The gene seed itself, it needs male biology, and it taps into a gland that males have that produces testosterone. So when I forgot, I don't know if it was the Adeptus Mechanis or it was, I don't know if it was the Imperium that was trying to experiment with the gene seed, and every time they would experiment with it, it would have catastrophic abominations or catastrophic consequences, right? Because how the Primarch or the Emperor designed that gene seed to be, you can't mess with it. It's difficult. It's difficult for you to rewrite it. It's made specifically with that purpose because the Emperor didn't want, and it's something that happened with the Thunder Warriors, right? He didn't want the Space Marines to rebel against him or attack him. That's why the Adeptus Custodes were created, right? And at the same time, he wanted to limit the production of it. Because the Thunder Warriors were strong, but what happened with them is that they would go crazy. And so now he had to nerf that and mass produce the Adeptus Custodes because the Adeptus Custodes, not the Custodes, the Adeptus Custodes are actually weaker than the Thunder Warriors. But that was done on purpose. But the gene seed itself, it can only survive within a male biological body because males produce testosterone. You put it into females with less into a female body, it's going to destroy them, basically. And because most of the not most, all of the Primarchs are males. Primarchs. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of the Warhammer 40K lore is based off of Roman, Roman and Greek mythology, I want to say. All right, so let's go back into this right here. Early Minotaur's lines did experiment with female-powered armor figures in the 1980s, but they sold poorly, so the company stopped producing them. Remember, the 1980s, again, this is like, I want to say the 80s were like it's like the mecca. That timeline was like the mecca of gaming, the mecca of gaming, comic books, et cetera, et cetera. By the 90s, it just got better. And I was glad I was born in the early 90s to experience it, right, growing up. You know what I'm saying? So I would understand why it's so poorly. Because you got to remember, the nerds, these were outcast community, outcasted people. Women didn't like them. So now why are you trying to add female stuff into a universe created by men that you rejected that created a space for themselves? So I would understand that. Right? You already know. Recent editions of some Warhammer books have removed gendered wording from the Space Marine creation process, which is open space for fan interpretation and debate, though the lore still doesn't explicitly confirm female authorities yet. Why fans want female Space Marines? Many fans argue that representation matters and having women, that's the typical fucking line. That is the Trojan horse line right there. And having women as the universe's most elite warriors would make the world feel more inclusive and diverse. That is the key Trojan horse line right there. And mind you, once you start including women into your thing, what's going to proceed after that? All the LGBT stuff. I'm going to fucking say what y'all are afraid to say. Canada has so many human females already playing major roles like in the Guard, Inquisition, and storyline across novels. That exclusion feels arbitrary. Some players also point to the dramatic success of female units in the Age of Sigmar as proof that hobby can support mixed gender elite forces. Now, again, I'm going to point this out to a lot of the men in the gaming spaces. This is an invasion on your space, in your spaces. You understand? This is an invasion. And they're going to use Space Marines because it is a science fiction universe to invade it. So you got to watch out and fight against this. Let's go back to it. So you get the lore purists, get the anti-change segment, and you got concerned how the change is handled, right? So, what official lore seems headed? Based on recent official clarification updates, female Space Marines are currently part of the official canon in Space Marines 2 or the 41st Millennium Sighting. So they're not part of the official canon in space. Female custodians to Emperor's personal bodyguards are being added as optional cosmetic models, right? Now, the female custodians are going to be different, and I'm going to explain that in another video. This is significant because custodians are even more elite and unique than Space Marines. So this move signals that Game Workshop is willing to rethink old conventions in some areas, and that's why they're doing it. Because when you make the custodians that, according to lore, are more, I want to say, according to the lore of Warhammer, the custodians weren't built like from a gene seed like the Adeptus Astartes. They're built differently. So it's more easier to take that and control that and add whatever you want to that, right? Now, that's probably the reason why they're doing it, because the Space Marines are more male dominated, and their Adeptus Custodians can be either way. And what they could do is they could send a female custodian, which they have videos of it doing too, checking the male Space Marine. That's what they could add it to it. They could, because they had it already in the video, right? And a couple clips that I've seen online where you had this female custodian, and she's basically made the I think they were called the White Scars, and they were defending a planet, and she made them yield to her authority. So that's the play they could be playing, right? So I want to go into, this is the main one. And the flaw is used by, so feminists invading male spaces, and the flaw is used by activists or politics to invade male gaming spaces. This is what's happening with Dark Horse comics, right? And I'm going to show you the parallel. Dark Horse Predator, this was intentionally world building, not activism. With Dark Horse Yaoja lore, they made a very deliberate choice. Female Yaoja, physically larger, stronger, more brutal. Male Yaoja, smaller by comparison, more dominant socially, control hunting rights, honor codes, and clan hierarchy. Status is earned through merit, ritual, and kills. This wasn't anti-male or feminist, it was anti-human projection. So what Dark Horse did intentionally, right, was to take away the human aspect from an alien universe. They wanted to take that away, right? Even if you look at the aliens, right? Look at the aliens, the xenomorphs. Even though you could say it's a female hive, but it's more set up like an anthill or a beehive. It's still an alien thing, and then come to find out the aliens were created by a android by the name of, I think his name was David, from Prometheus, from what was it called, Prometheus, by David. So they were this is a manufactured thing, right? Something from the engineers and the black goo or whatsoever, right? So now the universe is devoid of human thinking and thought process, and that's what Dark Horse's intentions were, right? Now, when you look at the Yaoja universe or the Predator franchise, right? So let me say this, right? Look at the latest installment with Predator Badlands, and at the end of the movie, they advertise as Dex mother more bigger and stronger. Now, what Disney is doing is they're taking stuff from fan canon or fan lore, fan canon, not actual canon, and adding it to the official stories. That's what Disney's doing to appease to a feminist audience that never liked this kind of stuff. They didn't like it. Give me the massive amount of female fan base that was attracted to Predator universe. They were more attracted to Twilight Zone with the damn werewolf and the vampire. Only reason they were attracted to that shit is because it was two Chads in there fighting. Right? So now, ironically, the female Yaoja are not a big population in their society. I think the female Yaoja is like 10 to 20%. But just because they're bigger and stronger don't mean they're better than the male Yaoja. Remember, male Yaoja have to hunt thousands of and hunt bigger shit that's more brutal and stronger than the female Yaoja. Right? And their status is earned through merit, ritual, and kills. So, but but you know, it's just sad to see that that's where it's going. Dark horses specifically wanted a non-human species with values alien to human matriarchy binaries, where biology doesn't equal social dominance. This is why the male Yaoja or Yaoja society is based off of meritocracy. Right? So the male Yaoja have to show their brilliance or their abilities based upon things outside of just being bigger and stronger, more brutal. They have to showcase their intelligence, how they read the field, how they utilize their weapons, how they utilize stealth. How they obey the honor code, how they respect clan hierarchy. So strength doesn't equal leadership. Violence doesn't equal authority. Sex doesn't equal power. That's good sci-fi, right? Where dominance is cultural structure and ritual competence. Where biology doesn't equal social dominance. So that's why they separated it. Right? So strength equals leadership. So strength doesn't equal leadership. Violence doesn't equal authority. Sex doesn't equal power. And even when it this, feminists can use this on its own. The fatal flaw when doing this, the flaw isn't the lore itself. The flaw is that once you strip away human logic, you create an interpretive vacuum. So even though Dark Horse did this to take away the human logic, it adds a flaw where you can apply human logic. Because now when you create that vacuum of things, you get what kind of human interpretation? You get the activists, you get modern ideological frameworks, you get contemporary identity politics, because now someone can say, well, if this species is a patriarchal, then why can't it reflect modern human social theories? That's the wedge. When you don't give something a structure, somebody else can apply their own structure to it. Dark Horse used the separation to avoid human patriarchy. Because remember, you have other races in sci-fi that are similar, that have human ideology to it. I think from the Star Trek universe, like the Klingons or whatever. And they were trying to intentionally avoid that. This maps directly into Adeptus Custodes. Original custodial logic. No gene seed, no primary lineage, no mass production, individually handcrafted, near perfect loyalty, beyond baseline humanity. They were meant to be post-human guardians, philosophical, asexualized. That's the part. Outside normal social categories. So they were not within social categories. They were just something by themselves, a different thing. Importantly, they were not meant to be social metaphors. They were a functional solution to a specific problem. How do we guard a god emperor from everything, including Space Marine? So what everybody's saying and what a lot of people feel but can't articulate in this move. Find a faction that is biologically or socially undefined. Declare it inclusive by default. Important modern human frameworks, feminism, gender ideology, identity representation. Mind you, look at the Halo universe for a moment. The Halo universe has female Spartans that we like and respect. But what happened when they added Sarah Palmer into the Halo universe? What did she do that people rejected? Oh, she disrespected Master Chief. And that she's a new age Spartan, and Master Chief is an accomplished Spartan, and here you have this female Spartan disrespecting an accomplished Spartan that was twice as big as her, and she talking about he's short. But then look at Linda and Kelly. My fault. Linda and Kelly have certain abilities that are better than Master Chief. I think Linda is a better sniper. Kelly, she has top speed. Master Chief, he's a jack of all trades, right? but they respect Chief because of how Chief was willing to complete his mission. They don't disrespect Chief, even though these characters are better than Chief in certain areas. And the male fan base respect them. And you know why? Because they're not adding feminist bullshit to it. They're not adding woke stuff to it. Important modern human frameworks declared as inclusive by default, right? Feminism, gender ideology, identity representation. Frame resistance as fear or bigotry. Normalize it, expand it outward into the rest of the setting. This isn't about lower necessity, it's about ideological colonization of ambiguity. The custodians aren't being changed because their story needed it. They're being changed because they were a powerful elite underdefined enough to be used as a Trojan horse. Same pattern, different IP. All right. Same thing happened with Star Wars, Marvel, DC, and a lot of stuff. Warhammer works because it is inhuman, uncomfortable, hierarchical, brutal, symbolic, not representational. Once you start recentering it around modern human identity concerns, the spell breaks. So that's what's going on. And with that point said, I come to this closing. To the men within the gaming spaces, we gotta drop our motherfucking nuts and get that masculinity out of us. And make the women, let it be clear and known. Hey, this is a male dominated space. We dictate what's going on over here. And when you're gaming, and remind the gaming industry that you make games based upon what we like, and our dollars fueled your pockets. Male labor and male dollars fueled your pockets. Let them know. Let the women know. Hey, you come into this space, you respect the men that's in here. You don't come in here being disrespectful, snotty, talking shit to us when you didn't even like us from the beginning. So y'all got to drop your nuts on something. Anyway, this is Kish, Yardy Gaming Network, because this is going on that channel. So like, share, and subscribe.